older, so I'm just happy that we're here, you know, March 7th. I believe, did they announce that it's here?
Yeah,
they just March 7th? Yeah,
Yep.
March 7th in Las Vegas, the 9th Island, baby. It's good to be home, so I can't wait.
Yeah, you said you were down to fight Charles, but you want to kind of do it on your terms, fight in Las Vegas.
Yes,
You've
sir.
had good history here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a fight that everyone wants to see. It's a really exciting fight. So for you, when you think about it, though, how does it play out between Charles and you?
I go out there, I get my...
And I know that you watched Charles Oliveira's last fight and, you know, kind of had a reaction to that. Were you streaming when you watched that, actually? Or you streamed, like, right after, right? So you were kind of on top of that.
Yeah, my stream started right after. I mean, that's the fight I want, you know? That's the fight I want. That's a fight a lot of people want to see. We have history. A lot of, you know, there's not too much people right now that people are considering BMFs.
Right.
But on that very short list, you know, on a very short list, Charles Oliveira is one of them. So, you know, you telling me that I get to go out there and defend the BMF title again against a man who's, you know, who's very respected, who I have history with, and the first time that they talk about our fight, or he talks about it, is an injury or so, you know, and whatever. So let's go figure it out. You know, let's figure it out then. If you believe that the first one was because of the injury, and everybody's gonna come at me, and social media is gonna come at me after this, it's light, because at the end of the day, if you guys really did your research, you know, nothing was ever found for an injury when he got released from the doctor. So at the end of the day, I would love that fight. You know, he did great things. He actually was a champion at one point, and you know, me getting another win over a top 5 guy would only be me closer to a title shot where I eventually.
History just slammed the door off its hinges, and nobody saw this coming. We're talking about Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway for the BMF title, and this isn't some feel-good nostalgia trip that nobody asked for. This is two completely evolved killers who have transformed into entirely different beasts since their first meeting, and one of them is about to have their legacy shattered in the most brutal way possible.
That's Oliveira versus Holloway. I nearly said that's Holloway. But that's Oliveira versus Holloway, which is a sick fight. I reckon Oliveira is going to win that one.
Here's what makes this absolutely insane. When these two first fought, they were just hungry prospects trying to make a name for themselves. Now, Max Holloway became the undisputed volume king, breaking every striking record in the book with his relentless pace that breaks fighters' souls. Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira turned himself into the sport's most dangerous finisher, a submission artist who can end your night faster than you can blink. But here's the kicker that nobody's talking about. This fight almost didn't happen because of timing, politics, and some behind-the-scenes drama that's way more complicated than anyone realizes. Max was absolutely desperate to get back in there by the end of the year. You could see it in every interview, every social media post. The man was starving for competition, but his team had to pump the brakes and force him to recover properly from his previous war, because when you're competing at this level, being okay isn't enough. You need to be 100% ready to perform at your absolute peak, or you get destroyed.
Pretty exciting. Tell us how it came about and your thoughts on fighting Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go before the end of the year, but you know, after that last fight, you know, we had some injuries that we had to take care of. But we're here now, you know, at the end of the day, with everything going on, I'm just happy to throw my name in the mix, you know, I put my name in the hat, and we got Charles, you know, for the BMF title.
And get this, when Max finally got medical clearance and his team gave him the green light, he didn't just casually accept this fight. He jumped at it without hesitation because this represents something way bigger than just another payday. This is his chance to prove that his move up in weight wasn't just about finding easier fights or chasing money. It's about showing the world that this evolved version of Max Holloway, stronger and more complete than ever before, belongs in the title conversation at lightweight. The BMF belt isn't his final destination, it's proof that he's still knocking on the door of greatness. And Charles Oliveira? He specifically demanded that this belt be on the line, which tells you everything about how seriously both men are taking this moment.
And it's Charles Oliveira, your opponent. He wanted this fight. He asked for you. He asked for you for the BMF belt. What are your thoughts on Charles's career? Because like yourself, he's been a champion. He's had an incredible fighting career, beat the best of the best. What kind of challenge does he present for you?
Amazing fighter, great fighter. I mean, just sucks that he got to run into me again.
We know his submission skills. We know that obviously he holds that record. We know absolutely everything you can do in the octagon as well. But who imposes their will? What sort of matchup are we expecting between the two of you? We know you're going to throw down, but what does it look like stylistically?
It's going to be a fun fight, you know. He's a fighter. He's your fighter's favorite fighter. I'm your fighter's favorite fighter. And that's what you're going to get, you know. A lot of fans online they're kind of heartbroken about this fight happening, you know. So at the end of the day, I get it. It is what it is. Whenever you get a Charles Oliveira, whenever you get myself fighting, you know it's going to be a fight.
But wait, it gets even more intense when you hear how these fighters are talking about each other. Max Holloway uses firm, direct words when he discusses Charles, and there's absolutely no hesitation or fear in his voice. He respects the incredible string of elite victories, the championship reign, the resume that speaks for itself. But respect doesn't equal hesitancy, and Max makes that crystal clear. He fully believes Charles is dangerous, the kind of fighter who represents exactly what these high-stakes situations are all about. When you break down the styles, it's two fighters who absolutely thrive in chaos, who don't just accept the madness, but actively seek it out and refuse to quit no matter how dark things get. Max guarantees only one thing with absolute certainty. Once that cage door closes, this turns into a genuine, no-holds-barred war that the most devoted MMA fans live for and absolutely won't be able to ignore.
Com certeza vai ser uma grande luta, né? Tudo pode acontecer. A gente tá falando sobre MMA, eu vou caçar o tempo inteiro, ou eu vou nocautear, eu vou finalizar, eu quero vencer.
For sure it's going to be a great fight. Listen, anything can happen. It's MMA. I'm going to be hunting all the time. May not knock him out, maybe finish him, but I'm going to...
Now here's where Charles Oliveira's mindset gets absolutely wild. In his recent interviews, he's made it clear that this fight is about seizing every single opportunity, whether that's in the first exchange or the final seconds of the fifth round. He's not holding back whatsoever, whether the fight takes place standing where he can showcase his improved striking, or on the ground where he's been finishing elite competition for years. His plan is simple but terrifying. Dictate the pace from the opening bell, force the action at every turn, never give Max a moment to settle into his rhythm or find his comfort zone. Victory comes from maintaining constant pressure that breaks his opponent's will, executing sharp transitions between striking and grappling that keep Max guessing, and finishing the fight wherever the chance appears, whether that's a knockout blow or a submission that comes out of nowhere.
O Max Holloway disse que tem um interesse, é uma luta que seria uma revanche para você, né? E que você realmente gostaria de ter essa revanche?
Sim, na realidade é um cara que eu respeito demais. Na minha última luta com ele, todo mundo sabe, eu tive uma lesão, ele fala que não, mas eu tive uma lesão.
However, and this is crucial, Charles isn't hiding his respect for Max's abilities and accomplishments. He knows exactly who he's facing and what Max brings to the table. But he's making one thing absolutely clear to anyone who will listen. Their first fight wasn't the full picture of what he's capable of. He's gone on record multiple times, stating that injuries held him back during that initial meeting, limiting his movement, restricting his game plan, and preventing him from showing the complete package of skills he's developed over his career. Now, fully healthy, 100% physically ready, and mentally sharper than ever, he's genuinely eager to show the world what really should have happened inside that cage. For Charles, this isn't just another fight on his schedule or another paycheck. It's his long-awaited chance to settle unfinished business that's been eating at him for years, and potentially the perfect storybook ending to cement his legacy before stepping away from active competition.
The goal never changes, bro. You know, ever since I got in the UFC from my first fight to now, you know, I want the undisputed belt. That's all I want, you know. And you know, I had it for a little bit in another weight class. Now we're in a different weight class. I feel good. I feel strong. I feel fast. I feel great, man. I feel really great. And I'm just excited to have my name in the pot, you know, and I get to take one step closer to that goal. We're getting my hand raised on March 7th.
Listen to this, though. When Max talks about his goals and vision for the future, it becomes immediately clear that he's got much bigger aspirations than just this one fight. The BMF belt, as prestigious and meaningful as it is, isn't his final destination. It's tangible proof that he's still relevant at the highest level, still a threat to anyone in the division. Max has already tasted what it feels like to sit at the very top of the mountain in his previous division. He knows what championship gold feels like, and now that he's competing at lightweight, that hunger has come roaring back sharper and more focused than before. He genuinely believes his body has finally caught up to his ambition, that he's stronger, quicker in his combinations, and more complete as a mixed martial artist than he's ever been. More than anything else, and you can hear the excitement in his voice. He's energized by being back in the title conversation with a crystal-clear target in mind. That target is the undisputed lightweight championship, and Charles Oliveira, as dangerous as he is, represents just the stepping stone to reach that ultimate goal.
At one point it was fighting Islam Makhachev again, then it was becoming UFC lightweight champion, now it's fighting home in Brazil. Once we get past Saturday, what's the next big goal for Charles Oliveira?
BMF, uma luta importante, porque eu creio que essas são as lutas que vão me levar ao título.
For sure, just winning this fight and fighting for a title, whether it's a BMF or a title in the division. These are great things that will, and this is a great fight that will propel me towards the title.
BMF fight sounds sick. How high would you rate the idea of fighting Max Holloway? Because I feel like that's one that the fans would go crazy for.
Acho que todos gostariam de ver essa luta. Por que não seria minha próxima luta?
I think a lot of people, everyone would love to see this fight. I want this to be my life.
For Charles, the perspective is equally ambitious, and perhaps even more focused on legacy and recognition. He's setting his sights firmly on the absolute top of the division, making it clear that this fight isn't just another bout on his journey. It's a legitimate shot at ultimate recognition, whether that comes from the BMF belt he specifically called out and requested, or positioning himself for another title shot that would cement his status as the best lightweight in the world. On top of that, and this adds an incredible emotional layer to the entire matchup, a showdown with Max Holloway could genuinely be the grand finale of his storied career. The last chapter in an incredible book of accomplishments, legendary fights, and unforgettable moments. For Charles, it's high stakes on every possible level, the kind of high drama that captivates the entire MMA world and the absolutely perfect stage to cement his legacy in the sport's history books. The weight of that moment, the significance of potentially ending his career against someone like Max Holloway for a title, that's the kind of storybook ending that fighters dream about their entire lives.
Hey, with Ilia Topuria, right, because we'd love to see you unify the belt with Ilia Topuria if things go to plan at UFC 324, but do you believe that Topuria hangs around the division? Are you hoping you get a chance to unify the belt against him, or do you think he might be going up to do this whole Islam thing potentially, who knows, maybe at the White House or something?
I guess I don't really have an opinion. I mean, if he went up, I would just be the champion, which I would, I'm not going to complain about, but I think what that leaves open is the chance for me to get a rematch against Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, get my belt and get the BMF belt. And ultimately that was the script I've been speaking into existence since the Fiziev fight. I thought I was going to fight Ilia in January, and then I was going to fight Max or whoever had the BMF, Max or Oliver. Now they're fighting, but before it was just Max. I was going to fight Max in the White House card and then have both those.
And here's where things get absolutely crazy. This fight announcement has sent the whole lightweight division into complete uproar, with fighters scrambling to position themselves for what comes next. If Ilia Topuria decides to move up and challenge Islam Makhachev, which has been heavily rumored, then Justin Gaethje sees a crystal-clear path opening up to that BMF title, and he's making it known loud and clear that he's ready to stake his claim. For Gaethje, and he's been vocal about this on social media, it's not just about chasing belts and adding hardware to his collection. It's about stepping into that cage with either Max or Charles, two of the most respected fighters in the sport, and proving beyond any shadow of doubt that he belongs in the conversation about the biggest fights that fans are demanding to see. The MMA community is absolutely buzzing with anticipation. Social media is blowing up with predictions and breakdowns, but we have to get past the Holloway versus Oliveira fight first. The BMF strap isn't just a trophy to put on a shelf. It's the ultimate statement about who you are as a fighter, and Gaethje is absolutely determined to make it his one way or another.
On his YouTube channel, the BMF belt to me personally represents just a bad mother effer. You know, blessed man forever. Only very few get the fight for this belt. The belt was a laughingstock before. All of a sudden I got it and everyone wants to fight for it now. It's hilarious. It's fun to me. What do you make of that? Him saying that it was a laughingstock before, because not many people held that belt. You were the one that put it on the map.
I mean, I love Max as a fighter. That's his opinion. That's his opinion. You know, I think he's one of the best fighters to do it. He's a dog when he goes in there. But whether it had been me or Nate fighting Max, it wasn't gonna be like his best night either, I think, you know. So I don't think how in laughing stock in what way, because the skill level is obviously there, you know. I mean, I would love to fight Max just on the stylistic matchup.
But get this, Jorge Masvidal has weighed in with his perspective, and as the inaugural BMF champion, his opinion carries serious weight. Jorge respects Max Holloway as genuinely one of the sport's best pound-for-pound fighters, a competitor who brings absolutely relentless pressure every single time he steps inside that octagon. But what's really interesting is that Jorge actually laughs at the idea that some people suggested the BMF belt was ever a joke or just a marketing gimmick. He completely rejects that notion. In his view, anyone fighting for that belt is automatically elite, top-tier talent that represents the very best of what this sport has to offer. Whether it would have been him defending it or Nate Diaz representing the BMF legacy, Jorge makes it clear that facing Max Holloway wouldn't have been an easy night by any stretch. For Jorge, this belt is fundamentally about the matchup itself, about creating that stylistic clash that gets fans on their feet, about testing striking at the highest possible level, and proving you can command the fight and honor the BMF legacy he helped establish. This Charles versus Max matchup is exactly the kind of fight that fans live for, with high stakes that actually matter and non-stop action written all over it.
Holloway, that's Oliveira versus Holloway. I nearly said that's Holloway. But that's Oliveira versus Holloway, which is a sick fight. I reckon Oliveira is going to win.
Now here's where the drama gets even more intense. While many analysts are buzzing with excitement over this matchup, the MMA guru has taken a different angle in his coverage. He's definitely excited about the fight itself, but he's not impressed with how the UFC handled the announcement and rollout. He thinks the empty chair setup at the press conference had genuine potential to be dramatic and effective, creating mystery and anticipation. But in his view, teasing the matchup beforehand with highlight reels and promotional content gave away way too much information, especially for casual fans. Little details like missing name cards on the chairs, which seems small but adds to the overall presentation. These kinds of oversights fuel his growing frustration with how the promotion is being handled behind the scenes. He doesn't hold back on calling out UFC brass for what he sees as sloppy, unprofessional execution in marketing this incredible matchup to the world. Still, he makes this point emphatically. No matter how messy the rollout has been, the actual fight when that cage door closes is going to deliver absolute fireworks that everyone will remember.
Oliveira versus Max, guys, I think we're at that point, right? Like, I think we can come out and announce this. Now, I'm assuming that you know, Charles Oliveira, when he gets done on Saturday, he calls out Max and he asks him to put up the belt. By the way, which is an important distinction to make. Colby Covington fought George Masvidal. It was personal, it was Vegas, it was main event. George was champion. We, Team Colby, assumed it was for the belt. We win the fight, we don't get the belt. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. It is important for a smart veteran like Charles to make the distinction and call for the belt. It's important when Max responds that we're all clear.
Even with all the legitimate rollout frustrations, Chael Sonnen has zeroed in on exactly why this fight matters beyond all the hype and promotional machinery. He highlights a crucial detail that casual observers might have missed. Charles Oliveira didn't just call out Max Holloway for a fight, which would have been big enough. He specifically, deliberately asked for the belt to be on the line. That distinction is absolutely crucial when you're talking about the politics and business of MMA. In this sport, a high-profile matchup between two big names doesn't automatically put a title on the line by default. There needs to be specific negotiations, agreements, and stipulations made. Sonnen points to the Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal fight as a perfect example, where you had a personal rivalry that generated massive interest and headlined a major Vegas card. But that main event spotlight didn't guarantee any championship would be at stake. For a savvy, experienced veteran like Charles, who understands how this business operates at the highest level, making it explicitly clear that the BMF strap needs to be at stake isn't just smart negotiation. It's absolutely essential to ensuring the fight has the significance and stakes it deserves.
Champions get called out. They don't do the calling. Now that makes me very curious. What's up with these two guys? I've known Max for his entire career. In fact, fought on a card with Max And it was either his debut or it was his second ever fight. So when I tell you I knew him, that's the day I met him. So when I tell you I knew him his entire UFC career, this is a literal statement. He's awesome. I think you guys know that. I mean, he's a wonderful guy, is my point. They're not all. You get disappointed plenty of times. Max is a wonderful guy. But you guys know that. I'm just getting to know Charles on a personal level. He came over here, did an interview that we brought to you. He's a wonderful guy. They're not all. So when you have two baby faces, when you have two good guys, two wonderful guys, when are you going to call a guy wonderful, by the way? I don't know if I've ever done. You got two wonderful guys. Why do they not get along? What is their problem with each other? What really happened between these two? And that has not come out. And there is an answer to.
Covington further points out something really interesting about the dynamics that speaks to the unique nature of how this came together. Usually, champions are the ones being challenged, the ones fielding mass vital, the ones choosing from a list of contenders. They're not typically the ones doing the calling out themselves. But this situation flips that script entirely, making this fight even more intriguing from competitive and psychological standpoints. Sonnen then shares personal context that adds depth to his analysis. He has a long-time connection with Max, having known him since very early in his UFC journey when Max was just a promising young prospect. Sonnen praises Max not just as an elite fighter with world-class skills, but as a genuinely good person outside the cage, someone with character and integrity. Getting to know Charles as well over the years, Sonnen notes he's equally impressive both as a martial artist and as a human being, which makes their past tension all the more curious and fascinating. Here you have two highly respected, incredibly skilled athletes, both widely admired for their character and professionalism, yet somehow there's this underlying friction that's been simmering for years. Building on Sonnen's breakdown, Ariel Helwani adds his expert take, noting that even Dustin Poirier, who has fought both men and knows their styles intimately, agrees that Oliveira versus Holloway for the BMF belt is an absolutely electrifying matchup that delivers on every level. Helwani also points out a fascinating pattern he's noticed with Ilia Topuria. Every single fighter who steps into the cage with Ilia, regardless of their status or previous accomplishments, seems to come out sharper, more focused, and more dangerous in their very next fight. Whether we're talking about Charles, Max, Alexander Volkanovski, or Josh Emmett, their performances immediately following their encounter with Ilia genuinely stand out compared to their previous work. It's like fighting Topuria forces these elite competitors to level up and find something extra in their preparation. This observation adds another layer of intrigue to the showdown, highlighting not just the skill level we're about to witness, but the incredibly high stakes and absolute war of styles that fans can realistically expect when these two legends step into the octagon together. And here's where the expert predictions get really interesting. Bedtime MMA breaks down the fight with a deeply personal twist that resonates with hardcore fans. He openly admits he doesn't want either man to lose because he respects both so much. But if forced to pick, he leans toward Max taking the victory. He praises Max as an incredibly dynamic striker with seriously underrated grappling skills that don't get talked about enough. Meanwhile, he notes that Charles has noticeably shifted his style in recent fights, dialing back some of the aggressive power striking that defined his championship run and leaning more heavily into offensive wrestling and grappling control. From analyzing the fence work Charles displayed against fighters like Michael Chandler and Ilia Topuria, it's clear he's consciously adapting his approach and becoming more well-rounded. But that evolution might give Max the edge in this particular stylistic clash. He continues digging deeper, noting that Oliveira's striking hasn't been delivering the same knockout impact lately, whether due to specific matchups, competition stepping up defensively, or a conscious focus on protecting himself and transitioning to grappling exchanges rather than standing and trading. Still, Charles remains extremely dangerous at every moment, with solid leg kick defense that can neutralize one of Max's key weapons, and that heavy right hand that could catch Max at exactly the wrong moment and change everything in a split second. So here's what we're looking at. Two absolute legends who have evolved into completely different fighters since their first meeting, both with legitimate claims to greatness, both hungry to prove they're still elite, and both knowing this could define their legacy forever. Charles wants to settle unfinished business, and potentially ride off into the sunset as BMF champion. Max wants to prove his lightweight run is just getting started, and this belt is merely a stepping stone to undisputed gold. The entire division is watching, fighters are positioning themselves for what comes next, and experts can't agree on who takes this war. One thing's for certain though, when that cage door closes, we're getting the kind of violent, chaotic, beautiful madness that makes us fall in love with this sport in the first place. So who do you think walks out with their hand raised and the BMF strap around their waist? Drop your predictions in the comments. Smash that like button if this breakdown got you even more hyped for this incredible fight. And subscribe because we're just getting started with the chaos that's about to unfold in the lightweight division.